Welcome to LipGloss Lessons. Lip gloss represents a basic beauty upgrade that takes little effort but has big impact. So that's the approach we are going to take. Let's work smarter and not harder to achieve success in life and love. Well, my intention with this show is to showcase a variety of successful women and their unique love journeys for all of us to enjoy and learn from. Okay, I'm your host, Deanna. I'm the kept wife strategist, mother of two. I'm also an author, coach, guide, all of the above, right? But I'm not the main event today. So let me go ahead and bring on today's guest. We are here. It is LipGloss Lessons, and this is episode 5. And today's guest is Nikki Stokes. So let me bring her to the stage.
Hi, everybody.
So, Nikki, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them briefly who you are, a little bit about yourself.
So, I am Nikki Stokes. What I usually lead with is the mother of two amazing young men, because I always say babies, but they are 24 and 19 now, so they're not babies. They are probably the motivation behind why and all the things that I do. Anything that I have learned, it's always been an effort to create something better for them. And then me getting better was like a residual outcome of that. So it was just like, the more I poured into them, I then discovered, okay, well, you need to do just as much for yourself. So that's probably the thing that I am most proud of. I'm an artist. I am a fabric artist. Anything yarn, knitting, crocheting, I can make it, whether it's clothing or again, started out as creating sensory and tactile tools for my son. And then it was like, okay, I'm able to do this. What can I pull from this for me out of it? And so that's where the artist fashion designer came from. I'm also a resource coordinator for an autism organization. I'm a writer. I'm working on this book that's that's pouring out slowly but surely. So I have a lot going on, but at the heart, I'm just a regular everyday person just trying to figure out life and live the best version of it for myself that I can.
Oh, awesome. We, and I'm saying we, right? We are also honored to have you here. So let me um, give you your flowers and share with you, but also everyone that's going to watch this, why I wanted you to be a guest. So, first of all, today's lesson is the art of autism, right? So I have known Nikki for a number of years. And I mean, she has been able to witness my complete evolution. I mean, she's known me for at least 2 of my lives. I always say that I've lived 3 lives, right? She's known me for at least 2 of them. Um, she has designed outfits for me, like literally wearable art, right? When I was performing. So that's kind of where we started. But we have developed a friendship and always stayed in touch. And she's been one of the people that I was able to lean on when my son actually got diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. Um, it was a whirlwind for me. I think this is the first time I'm even talking about it publicly, like descriptively. Like I've mentioned, um, that he's neurodivergent and different things like in articles or whatever, but I've never really talked at length about it. And it's a very personal thing for me. I have very thick skin and can deal with a lot, but when it comes to my family, oh,
Yeah.
so, I be having to pray about how people will talk about autism and how they treat people who are autistic. So, I'm a little sensitive about that. But Nikki, man, she has been a godsend as a resource, for support. And that's what you learn. You learn you need to have
Yeah.
support. So she's been awesome. in that way. And I have always respected her evolution, watching her as a woman growing. And like she said, like being proud of just the journey and what she's learning through being a mother and applying that to herself and always like just being a better woman. So I've gotten to watch that in her and I love that. And I can't wait to have this full on conversation with her. So let's get into it. First of all, today's lip gloss. I'm wearing Fussy by Fenty. Girl, I listen, I didn't even plan this. I picked it up. I was like, oh, I'm feeling it. Okay, so it's Fussy by Fenty. Okay, so that's the lip gloss for today. And as we start every episode with the lip gloss lessons 7. So this is kind of like our icebreaker of sorts. I ask 7 questions to every guest.
Okay.
There's no wrong answers. There's no right answers. It's like have fun and just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay.
Gotcha.
So the first thing is, what's your signature lip gloss?
So what's funny is I usually just pick whatever because I have a fantastic makeup artist who does like all this wild makeup for me, which is crazy that I have none on today. But
Okay.
I think it's literally just like MAC, the clear glass,
That's
because
a go-to.
yeah, right. Because when I do like the lines, it keeps the lines on my lips. So that's like the go-to one that I usually have on.
Oh, I love that. And
Yeah.
I see your little line. I'm going to have to like put a picture of you on my social media
Okay.
because I love that. I would never do it because I'm like, I don't know if I like, there's so many things I admire when I see it on someone, but I'm
Hmm.
like, oh no, that's her zhuzh though. That looks good on
You
her.
know what? I give to Roman because I'm like, my son literally shows up how he is. He's not trying to shift, he's not trying to fit. If he likes it, he likes it. You're not gonna make him feel bad about
Mhm.
liking it. And that
Mhm.
transferred over to me because I'm like, if he don't care, like what do I
Why
like
you
it?
there?
Yes,
Right.
I like it. So you know what? We gonna do these lines. Y'all gonna get this Wakanda makeup, especially at IEP meetings.
Come on. So girl, don't get us started to talking. Let me get through these 7 so we could get to this conversation. So
Okay.
this brings us to my social experiment number 2. So I have this theory about how you do one thing is kind of
Mhm.
how you do everything. So if you can pay attention to how a person does a normal everyday task, it will tell you a lot about them. Now, I've known you for years, but I mean, we're not best friends like I know how you do everything and all of that. So I'm saying all of this so people understand what I'm about to do. So I want you to tell me how you put your lip gloss on, as much information as you want to tell or as little, but just describe how you put your makeup, how you put your lip gloss on. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about yourself, but only what I pick up from what you
Okay.
tell me about that.
Got you.
Okay, go ahead.
So again, it's funny because lip gloss is probably the one thing I don't pay that much attention to. So my lip gloss obviously is always the very last thing, because I'm very into my eyes and all that. So it's what lip gloss is going to complement my face. So again, if I have like my tribal lines on, if I have color, it's a color that's not going to smear it. It's literally like the icing on the cake for everything else that's already done. And so it's what's going to make what I have on already look the best. So I
Okay.
really don't, it almost feels like I really don't pay attention to that particular thing, but how is it going to complement what I have? Because I don't want that part to get messed up. So it's like, all right, the lip gloss has to be like the sealant for everything else.
Oh, I love this. Okay. So this is what I picked up from what you
Okay.
said. Okay. And again, this is not what I know about you. This is just what I'm taking from what you said.
Okay.
So you say that, oh, it's not the thing that I really pay attention to like that. But to me, listening to your description, it's like even when you're not being intentional, you're intentional.
Mm.
So it's within you, like how your outward decisions come out, even when you're like, oh, I didn't really put that much thought into it. It's just, it felt right or it went with this. That's not true. That's just because you're that authentic in how you have built yourself through your experiences that it feels like it didn't take that much thought. I'm not really into it, but it's because you fortified yourself so that things are that way. Even when it's the things you paid attention to and you're like, no, I chose that, that's that. Even the things you're not, they still complement how you intend things to be.
Come on, girl. Don't have me all emotional.
Listen, this is my theory.
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying to
hear and I
provide.
see all that. Yeah.
Listen, all right,
Ooh, and
let's
that's only number two.
see. Let's go. Number 3. How do you define success in general? Just in general.
For me, success is growth. Am I better than I was yesterday?
Oh, yes.
Do I do this thing more efficiently? I really don't have a number, or you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to get this one thing and that's success. For me, it's not staying the same. Like I'm always trying to be a better person. I'm always trying to be a better artist. And so I fall into this space where I'm constantly competing against myself. So
Mm,
this is the thing that I want to do, art. Is my artwork this year better than it was last year? Like, I don't want to plateau with anything that I do or anything that's important to me. So as long as I'm growing and I'm improving, I think that's my definition of what success is for me.
love that. So now keeping in the vein of like defining success. So what is success in love, marriage, relationship? So you can choose if you want to just say in general in love. I mean, I don't know if you want me to mention. It's kind of
Nah.
hard to miss. Hard to miss, but
So we're gonna talk about marriage, since
okay.
I
Yes.
somebody might be heading that way.
Yes.
um, I think for me, success in marriage is also growth. Like, are we growing as a unit? Um,
Mm-hmm.
our growth as individuals, is that supporting that growth as a unit? Because I've been married before, and um, I think that just in life in general, sometimes growth isn't linear. And so that
Mm-hmm.
we grow in different ways. And so my idea and concept of what my successful marriage is, that our growth is linear. We're growing together and we're able to support each other as individuals,
Mm-hmm.
but still as a unit, and we're still able to be aligned.
Mm-hmm.
A successful marriage is one where we communicate. Like I need to be able to talk to you about all of the things and have uncomfortable conversations, like the hard
Yes.
ones where you
Mm-hmm.
might cry, but then at the end it's like we did it. So as long as we're constantly growing and being better and making one another better, to me, that's my idea of a successful marriage.
That's good. I'm not mad at it. Now, what area have you been most successful in? Would you say career or love?
You know what? I That's hard.
This is
That's
the
really
one.
hard.
This is the question that every woman is like,
You know
I
what? I'm gonna say love, and I'll tell you why.
okay.
Because the success I've achieved in my career has been based on the love that I have for my children. So if it wasn't for the love for that journey with my son, I wouldn't be doing what I do for a living.
Mm.
So I'm gonna 100% say I was more successful with love,
Oh, I love
because
that.
even without the career, the love is still there.
Come on.
Without the love, the career wouldn't be.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so this leads us to our next question. So what do you think are the keys to your success in that area?
um, I think my determination.
Hmm.
um, because I was very determined to break childhood trauma, um, and just family trauma and just certain things that existed in our family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it was, this is not like, failure is not an option when it comes to these two. Um, and so it was, the more you told me no, the more I was like, okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I telling me no is a surefire way. Like, if it's possible, once you tell me no, I'm gonna figure it out. It don't matter how long it take. If it is
Mm-hmm.
possible, there's some things that people have told me that wasn't possible, but my love for my sons allowed me to manifest and will it.
Mm-hmm. You're
And
like
so
challenge accept.
yeah, 100%. Whereas there were things that I would have given up in a heartbeat for myself that I would not give up for them.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think like that determination just fueled it. You know, it's like you love somebody, but do you love it enough? Do you love them enough? Do you love these things enough to go through whatever it's going to take
For it.
for it to work? And
Yeah.
it was never a question for my sons.
Yeah.
That was easy. And so, you know, again, once I did it for them, there was a point where my sons both went away to school. And it was so now you got to do that for yourself.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah.
it's no difference. If you did it for them, do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just did, being determined, just not accepting no for an answer, I think has been the key to
Okay. Determination. And the
it.
final question. What's one lesson you struggled to learn in regards to love?
Ah, martyrdom.
Okay.
I was very much a believer that in order to get the things I deserved, it required struggle, sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
pain. And the more I was able to deal with those things would ensure that I got the things that I wanted and deserved.
Yeah.
And it took me a very long time to learn that that's not it. Like, that you don't have you don't have to die at the stake.
Come on now.
Um, because the crazy thing is, one of my skills, like, I thrive in chaos. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was the 911 dispatcher, operator, like, emergencies and chaos and catastrophe. I can find calm in that really quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I do my best work. But I was like, I don't want to live here anymore.
Right.
I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
live in chaos. Like, you need to learn how to do your best work in peace. And so that has been the toughest lesson for me, is learning to work in peace the
Mm-hmm.
way that I learned to work and thrive in chaos.
I love that. And I know that so many women watching are going to be able to identify with that point, because let's just talk about like struggle culture. Like
Mhm.
that's what we hear. Oh, you got to support them through it. You got to ride or die. You got listen, that is pushed everywhere.
Mhm.
So you literally are going against the grain of society
Mhm.
when you decide no.
Yeah.
And something that I teach, my clients is that it really is about a decision, right? So it's as simple as saying, going from, well, I thrive in chaos. For me, it was like, oh, I thrive when what was the word I was using before? Um, I thrive when it's like dire need. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when it looks like it's impossible and there's money and there's the lights is off and oh, I thrive then. And it was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm making this agreement that that's where I'm best.
Yeah.
Well, what about I'm going to make the agreement that I thrive in peace.
Mhm.
I thrive in abundance. I thrive when everything is provided for me and I just get to show up. It's
Yeah.
as simple as starting with the decision that you're not agreeing with that narrative anymore. So,
Hmm.
who okay, today's episode sponsor is Love Coverage. Love Coverage is a full service coaching company that provides a membership community, premarital preparation, love attraction guidance, individual and couples relationship coaching. So if you are in need of any covering for your love, go to destinationdiana.com and you can get information about Love Coverage. So, oh, and yes, my special. If you visit destinationdiana.com and you use the code LPGL15, you get 15% off of all products in the shop. So there you go. All right. Today's lesson, the art of autism. Okay, the art of autism. And I wanted to read something very quickly. So, when we think of art, we usually are just like, oh, paintings, the person is artsy, they're creative. Yes, but I wanted to read you the meaning, and this is the noun of art, the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, or producing of works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power.
Yeah, that emotional power.
Like I got chills, and I've been doing this, I don't know, as we, age and mature in years. I've been like, all these words that we just use, I'm finding when you go and actually look them up, there's a
Yeah.
deeper connection, right? I'm like, wow, art. Like, I just was thinking, you're artistic, I'm artistic, we're talking about
Hmm.
autism. This is kind of cool, like the art.
Right.
But then the Holy Spirit was like, no, look up the meaning of art.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
I do that a lot. Like with the art exhibit, what I did was all of the words, um, I found words and put the definitions up because with Roman being nonverbal, like written words are so
mm,
important to us. And so I will put words in spaces. But like you said, when you actually think about a word that you use all the time and what it truly means, you're
mhm,
like, it gives so much more meaning to
to
that thing at that point.
and the emotion that can be connected to it. Like, another
Yeah.
thing that I teach is, yes, it's good to know a lot of words and all of that, but I think the vibration and energy of words, sometimes they don't even match the meaning sometimes.
Hmm.
And I'm okay with, if a word has a certain energy that I don't like, oh, we gonna figure out another word to say that same thing, because
Yeah. It's
whatever it
important.
is, that ain't working. So let's start the conversation. I think, and again, I am not a professional when it comes to autism. So let me just first say, I may not say the right term or the right whatever. I just am living with autism, so I can
Hmm.
share my lived experience.
Hmm.
But I think it's important to talk about the variations of autism. One of the things that I've experienced is people just grouping autism altogether. Have you experienced that as well? And would you like to add to that?
So I 100% agree with you. A lot of times, even in the capacity of my job where I'm doing presentations, I often say, like, I'm not an expert. I look through Roman goggles. So that's my lived experience. And
Yeah.
even he is a constant living, breathing, changing thing. So Roman at 3 is not Roman at 19. So I'm constantly having to learn him.
Yeah.
So you are constantly having to learn everyone around you. Um,
Yes.
there's no cookie cutter box for what that looks like. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I know a behavior therapist that's autistic and has sensory issues, and
Mm-hmm.
she has like 9 degrees and speaks 21 languages. And then I have my son who is highly
Mm-hmm.
impacted, but he can break into an Amazon account and download movies and nobody knows whose
What are you
passwords
doing?
he used. So, you know, it's the cliche thing of once you've met one person with autism, you've only met one.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And so
So true.
even as a resource coordinator, I'm telling people all the time, listen, I'm constantly learning. If you find anything that I say offensive, please talk to me, help educate me because I'm constantly learning.
Mm-hmm.
There are cultural differences when it comes to, like we said, words again.
Mm-hmm.
So just having a level of grace,
Yeah.
knowing that I don't know all the things. Even professionals that have learned and gotten degrees about autism from a book, that book is very different from a living, breathing human being. So
That's right.
just, you know, it's a constant learning cycle, I think, if anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So my son Sire is 6, right? And we first got the diagnosis when he was 3. Now, just every day, any
Mhm.
child,
Yeah.
3, you're like one person, you're a different person at 4, completely different at
Mhm.
5, completely different at 6, right? So
Yeah.
that's been my experience too, just having to learn him. And let me know if you share in this experience. For me, having a child that's on the spectrum and then having one that isn't, it has totally, I think, made me a better parent because it actually highlights how everyone has different needs.
Mhm.
And I think before I knew about my son being autistic, I knew that, okay, he's a boy, she's a girl. Okay, she's a year and 9 months older than him. So, developmentally, there's some differences, but I was trying to parent them the same. This,
Mhm.
this is who mommy is as a parent. Y'all,
Right.
y'all get with my program. Y'all mommy eyes, okay? And Sire has taught me, no, there's a Sire program, right? There's a Sire program, and you're going to learn very quickly that if you want to have some peace in this house, you're going to learn Sire.
Mhm.
Now, and I'm joking about that, and I know you can understand what I'm saying, but
Mhm.
viewers, no, my son doesn't run my house. No, like let's be clear because that's a misconception
It
too.
is.
I experienced that a lot where even people in my family, they're like, "Oh, you give your kids too much choice."
Yeah, so I 100% agree with you. And one of the things I'll talk about is communication. So with Roman, it don't use all these big words. Don't say in 10 words what you can say in 5.
Hello.
When you're communicating with kids, I'm not even going to say kids, there are adults that need that.
Yes,
Clear, concise communication that cannot be misinterpreted.
interpreted.
That's
Hmm.
not me letting my son run my household. That's me understanding this is what it's going to take for him to understand my request, process
Yep,
it, and then do it.
that's right.
So when I learned that with him, I'm like, well, you really should be doing that with his brother as well. Like, what? Why is there a difference?
Right.
And then I think the biggest thing that I struggled with was people feeling like physical discipline was the cure all to whatever he was going through. And so I'm like, number one, if you went to work and didn't do what you were supposed to do and your boss hit you, you would have a problem with that.
Yep,
A lot of times people are physically disciplining our children because emotionally you don't know how to deal with what's happening.
that's right.
So I had to learn to emotionally get myself in check. But
Thank
then
you.
also, I'm dealing with a child who is not going to correlate the physical hit with what he just did. Like that doesn't make sense to him.
No, not
And
at
my
all.
son who needed physical deep pressure for sensory things, who ran into the wall because it felt good, if he sees that if I do this, you're grabbing me, guess what he's gonna keep doing?
Yes.
So it's all these different angles, and like you said, people are just like, well, will you let him? No, there are certain things he's just never gonna understand. Now, granted, if you create a routine, he will
Mm-hmm.
learn, but he has to learn through the process, which
Yep.
means I have to be as patient as I can to get him through that process. If I know it takes him 30 minutes to get dressed in the morning, don't expect him to get ready in 15. It's not gonna
Can you get
happen.
out of my house? Get out of my house, first of all, because that was one of the toughest lessons for me
Yeah.
because I'm just going through life like, listen, son, mommy woke up late. Chop chop. Like, we don't got 30 today. We got
Yeah.
15. And yes, will he comply? And yes,
Mhm.
but it won't be pleasurable.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you start feeling, well, at least this is how I was feeling, right? I don't want to project my feelings onto anyone because, everyone's situation is different, their experience with it. But for me, I started feeling like my lack of control and my lack of patience with his process. I started really feeling bad about, like, dang, like, I'm his mom. He
Mhm.
loves me. I'm safety to him. He's coming to me for support. And all I am is upset. All I
Mhm.
am is aggravated, right? And even if I'm trying to hide it and maybe I'm not yelling or I'm not hitting or I'm not whatever, my energy says it. My
Yeah.
energy is not saying, I love you, son. Let's
Mhm.
figure this out. My energy is not saying, go ahead, take your time, son. No, my energy is
Mhm.
like, get with the program. We got 15 minutes.
I
So
had to learn my anxiety would tip him off sometimes. Like I had to pull back. I'm like, is he anxious or
for me,
is it
yes.
me? And I'm like, he trusts me.
Yeah.
So if I'm nervous, he's like, well, if mommy nervous, I definitely need to
We're
be nervous.
nervous. Yeah. Yep. It's, yeah. And I mean, when he first was diagnosed, I mean, I went through a range of emotions.
Mhm.
Like, why, did I do something? Like, all of these things, right? And I mean, I'm only like 3 years into the journey, right? The everlasting journey. I'm only three
Right.
years in, right? But it's been such a gift.
Mhm.
And I did not see this moment ever. I
Mhm.
I was totally like, man, my life is screwed. Here I thought, like,
Mhm.
all I saw was, this is going to take more work, it's going to take more money, this is going to take more everything. Like, I
Mhm.
saw all of the disadvantages,
Yeah.
right? When at the end of the day, man, it has made me such a better mother, such a better
Mhm.
woman, just because it started by learning him, right?
Mhm.
And learning autism and how to
Yeah.
deal with it. And then it became just what you said, like, well, why don't we care about everybody's process? Why
Mhm.
don't we care about everybody's ability to understand how we communicate? Why don't we care about everybody having the necessary time they need to do
Mhm.
a particular thing?
Yeah.
Why is this just about this? Really just seems like how we should treat everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, I think 100% my son made me a better communicator. My
Yes.
level of empathy is through the roof.
Yeah.
My patience. Literally, people are like, how are you so calm? And I'm like, because right now, nothing is on fire.
Yep.
Nothing is burning down. Nobody is going to lose their life about this
Nobody's dying.
situation. It's
Yeah.
going to be okay.
Mhm.
And like you said, again, being in a space where you never understand it when you're in it.
Yep.
Because when I was in it, I was like, God, listen, I
Wow,
don't
Lord.
know who you think I am, but this is not it.
Like, God, why do you trust me this much? Why are you trusting me this much,
That
God?
was a conversation every day. And at the end of it, I was like, but listen, if you get me through it, I'm taking notes. And I promise,
Yeah.
if Ro gets through this, then I will help as many people as I can get through the entire thing.
Oh.
And when I say every person I help, every person I give resources to, I see my son's face. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what did Roman need? What did you need then? And I never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that I said it every day. I'm like, God, if you just help me get him through this, just help me get him through this. And now it's like you said, you sit back and I'm like, I never saw this. Like
Never.
I was at a job I really didn't like. I, I didn't know how I was gonna leave. I'm like, who got time to go back to school? Like, I don't who has money to
Yeah.
go back to school? And
Yeah.
literally, it's like I get to go to colleges and talk to professionals and students and people with 27 letters behind their name about what I lived through and learned loving my son.
Mm.
And so it was like, all right, God, I see what you did. Like, seriously, because you would have never, I didn't see this. I couldn't
Yeah.
see it. Like, I was
Couldn't.
in it. And so to be here and see him thriving and him doing well, and I got to reschedule my Skype because he got social activities going on. It's amazing because
Yeah.
it's like now I get to sit back and connect the dots, and I'm like, that's what that lesson was for, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what that was for, and you needed that for this. And so yeah, I totally feel it. Like when you don't see it and then you get to see it, you're
And you
like,
get there. I feel like this is the perfect example of like how everything is connected and everything that we go through is not just for us. Like
right.
while you're in it, you're feeling like, why me? You're trying to figure it out. It sometimes can feel like hell, confusing, crying,
Mhm.
all of that, right? But then when you get to this other side and you're able to share your
Mhm.
experience and it's for the betterment of someone else, they
Yeah.
suffer a little bit less than you did. They're a little bit more prepared than you are. They have
Mhm.
one more resource than you did at the time.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh wow, God. Okay, this was really for your glory.
Mhm.
This is really a part of the work that uplifts your people. This is a way to
Yeah.
really give back." And it's like community in
Mhm.
in the rarest form. This.
I just I wish we would get out of that mindset of, well, I struggle, so everybody else should struggle. Like, I first cleared that with my sons. If
Mhm.
there is some struggle I can save you from, and that in no way translates to do everything or not make
Yeah.
them work. If my son, as long as my son is in school, he has a house, he
That's
has a room.
right. That's right.
Why would I make him try to figure out school and tuition and
And
work?
paying rent and all of
No,
the things that he has the
right.
rest of his life to do.
Exactly. You don't need to create a bill. Go to
Yep,
work, go to school,
yep,
do what you're
yeah,
doing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And so, like you said, even the things that we learn, giving someone something that makes their life a little bit easier.
a little bit.
Like, I think sometimes it's, well, I struggle, so everybody else should have to. And it's like, nah, like if I can prevent anybody from dealing with the things that God clearly trusted that I could get through,
Get through, yeah.
because you even that everybody don't have what we have. What we
Nope.
got through might kill somebody else.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
think
mean? So
that's
yeah,
why it's like, oh, God trusted us with
right.
this. And at first, again, I was like, God, why you trust me this much? Don't
Like, stop
trust me
trusting
this
me. Don't
much.
trust me this year.
Don't trust me this much. But then I started seeing it as like a privilege almost.
Yeah.
Like, Sire is a gift, and you chose me to
Yeah.
steward over him and to raise him with love and to provide him with the foundation so he could thrive.
Yeah.
What a gift. What
Yeah.
a gift. And when you start to, again, this is like perspective shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you can start to see things like that, man, you see the
Yeah.
blessings in those things, even from resources, right? I'll take the fact that he's in a school that actually has functional living. So
Mm-hmm.
he's in the first grade, but he has a teacher that is certified that can actually teach him how he needs to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't have to be back. He doesn't have to
Yeah.
uh, do anything. Like he gets to go to school with his sister,
Mm-hmm.
put his backpack on, do all of the things that come
Right.
along with school. But then his learning
Yeah.
experience is one that he enjoys.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually working for him, that you can see him growing and
Yeah.
learning. And it's like the blessing of the fact that he's in a small class. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I love that.
Yep.
Be in a small class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about some of the benefits and the different things that they offer to us as resources and
Right.
assistance because he's autistic.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that like, oh well, that's a blessing that people call us,
Mm-hmm.
check on us a little more, and they'll tell us about different family
Mm-hmm.
activities and things like that. That's one less thing I got to worry about. Who
Right.
I got to find.
Yeah,
So
that's a conversation I had with a lot of parents that don't want to have their children evaluated because of the label, and they're worried about that part of it.
that's
And
real.
I'm like, yeah. And I said, well, the way I tried to think about it was, is this piece of paper going to get him the resources and the additional help that he needs to be successful?
Yep.
Yes, then we're going to run
Yes.
with it.
Then we're gonna
Because
do.
at the end of the day, the more help, the better.
Yeah.
And it makes me wish that we really even reevaluated like educational systems. There are
Yeah.
some kids that don't learn unless they do it. My
Mm-hmm.
son shouldn't have to have an IEP to learn how to do
To
this.
learn.
Like
Yes.
he's hyper. He needs frequent breaks. So the only way you're gonna give a classroom of kids frequent breaks is if it's written in
If
their
it,
IEP like that.
right.
You know what I
This
mean?
this
So
goes this goes back to our overarching point, I think, is that okay, it was under the guise of autism, but we
right,
actually learned that this benefits everybody.
it
It
does.
benefits everybody. So even when thinking about education, it's like, okay, so when children are autistic, you put these things into place for them. But actually, a lot of children that are not autistic still need to learn like
Yeah,
this, would still
100%.
benefit from these things that you're
Yep.
doing. They would benefit from having a class of 10 instead
Yeah.
of 30. They would.
Like, yeah, even when I talk about, because I with my artwork, I do a lot about creating sensory inclusive spaces.
Mhm.
And it's like when you have accommodations and options, you're really helping everybody.
Yes.
Because, like you said, someone who's not autistic might have sensory processing issues. And I shouldn't have to have a label on to have what I
That's
need to
what I
work,
need.
to live, or to learn. Like, that's really what fairness and inclusivity is. It's everybody having what they need.
Need. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, because I know you have like experiences of seeing the different families and the different things, and you mentioned labels. I'll give you a very real example. So Shelby's a gymnast, and at her gym, they have what's called like parents' night out,
Hmm.
where you can drop the kids off. You pay like I think it's like $30 or something like that. They get pizza, they get a movie, they get to play, and parents go get to have date night. They do
Okay.
this once a month. It's awesome. And what's really great about it is even if you're not a gymnast of the gym, if you're a sibling of
Okay.
one that's there, so they really want to make sure the
Right.
parents,
They like
you
bring
can drop
everybody.
all your kids off, right? So they know Sire because when Shelby is practicing, the family's there, right? But no one knows he's autistic.
Okay.
And the thing is, he's very high functioning.
Right.
So unless you're really paying attention and you're aware and he's stemming or something like that, you
Hmm.
might not ever know,
Right.
which can be a gift and a curse sometimes. Because then when he has a moment,
Yeah.
people are like,
Right.
and I'm like, just give it 5 minutes, you know?
Right.
But we have sent him to the parents' night out and um went undetected, no issues, he was fine until they had a Halloween night. And they had the lights off a lot, kids had masks, So it was noisier,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And he kirked out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they tried to manage because they're like, kids do this. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
like, kids do this. But no, he was really like, don't touch me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever, trying to get himself together. And they were just trying to help him instead of whatever. So what we learned is from that point on, we never said, oh, he's autistic, because we notice when you say that, people are like, oh, we're not set up to,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have something separate for that. And it's like, I know that there are some children on the spectrum that actually require
Mm-hmm.
like a different environment. You have to separate them, all of that. He doesn't require that, fortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But we have learned that we have to tell people about how to handle him
Mm-hmm.
when he has a moment. We have to tell them, no, you don't. What you would do in any other case where you're trying to hug or you think,
Mm-hmm.
no, that actually is going to make him go off
It
more.
works.
You have to let him have his own
So I
moment.
got a quick suggestion.
Okay, yes, I'm open.
So, in the sensory kits I do, I'll send you one for Sire too.
Okay,
But a friend of mine, she created this thing called the Advocazine. You don't have to be autistic. You can use it for all of your kids,
okay.
and you can sit down with Sire and ask him what makes you feel anxious, what
Mm-hmm.
makes you feel uneasy. When you feel anxious, what would help you feel better? And
Yeah.
so have all of those things just to
Yes.
give to whoever. So if he never
Yes.
needs it, it's there. Because in that moment of crisis, he's not going to be able to communicate
No.
what's going to make him feel better. And so
Right.
you doing all the wrong things is just going to make it worse. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just,
Oh,
because
that
he
was
has the
great.
ability to articulate it when he's calm.
Yes.
A lot of times people just don't know. So it's like being
Mm-hmm.
proactive just in case the
Mm-hmm.
moment happens. But yeah, like when he's chilling, just sit down and say, you know what, when you feel anxious, what would help? Like, what could your teacher do to help you calm down? What things, sometimes it's just need a break. Roman has mastered, his teachers know if he asks for a break, give him a break. He might just need to go sit by himself and then he'll come back and be fine. He doesn't want you to do anything. Roman is super independent. Is don't touch me, don't talk to me, don't ask me nothing. Give me 5 minutes.
Sire does that
Five
too.
5 minutes. It's like nothing ever happened. But
Right.
again, like you said, it's just you gotta learn it.
You got to learn
You
it
gotta
though.
learn it.
No, that's awesome. That makes me think about when I first had Shelby and I was super like helicopter mom and I sent instructions with her
Yeah.
everywhere she went. It's like, sorry, this is what helps me
Yeah.
sleep at night. But it's the same thing, that
Mm-hmm.
because that's a worry that I do have.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's why I don't send him
Yeah.
anywhere unless a person knows him already
Mm-hmm.
and has been well versed in how to
Yeah.
handle when he is overstimulated.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause that's what it
And
is.
that's the other thing. I got to the point I didn't care how people looked at me.
Yeah,
Like, don't send no instructions in here. Yes, I am, because you
yes, I
don't know
am.
them. So here you go. If you need the instructions, you won't. I mean, you
It,
have them, but if not, great. But these are the things that I need you to know because I need you to be me when I'm not here or
that's
as
right.
close as you can get to me so that
Hmm.
you can manage this. And that's,
Hmm.
a lot of, again, I really don't care about people. I learned. I got thick skin. You could take it
Yeah.
personal. It's not
Yeah.
personal. I'm setting him up for success.
Yeah.
And if leaving these instructions with you set him up for success, then that's what I gotta do. Y'all can look at me sideways, but you're gonna thank me later.
Listen, listen. We could talk forever and a day. This has been
Yes.
such an edifying conversation, and I believe that it's going to bless so many other people. I think we have touched on so many things that stem from our experiences with autism, but it really is about just the art of living,
Mm-hmm.
the art of communication, the art
Yes.
of peopling.
Yeah.
Okay, the art of peopling.
Listen, because honey, I run out of people pellets all the time. I'm like, I'm done for
And
the day.
so to close out this episode of Lip Gloss Lessons, I just want to ask you, what is your one tip that you will leave with the viewers, the listeners, for instant benefits?
Hmm. Be good to yourself first. You it's so cliche and we say it all the time, like you can't pour from an empty cup, you can't do
Mhm.
this, but you have to be good to yourself. You create the blueprint for how people treat you, how people interact with you. And if you're not good to you, nobody else is going to be in marriage, work, love, life, your children, nothing. So it's like we think self preservation is selfish and it's not, but you're creating the blueprint for how you want people to treat you. So be good to yourself first.
Absolutely. That was such a great way to end this episode. So stay tuned for the next Lip Gloss Lessons episode. But until then, you can get caught up on all previous ones. There is a playlist on my YouTube channel. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Like, don't be selfish about what's going on here, right? And remember that intentional action is just like lip gloss. A little bit can make a big difference. See you next time.